Good evening, and welcome back to the darkened streets of the Garden State. You know the place where the highways cut across the land like old scars, and all those blinking lights, well, they do very little to push back the dark, do they? Tonight, we're going to look in on our fledglings again. They're fresh from the grave, still kind of blinking in the gloom. They've made it through their first few nights, but surviving in this world, it always comes with a price.
That's a very mortal thought, isn't it? There's a certain comfort in that finality. But for our coterie, you see, death wasn't an end at all. No, it was the grim gateway to an eternity of service, a bloody baptism into a war that started long, long before their hearts ever stopped beating. They're learning fast that for the kindred, for vampires, the grave is really just the beginning of the horror. Because with this new unlife, this gift, comes a whole new kind of bondage. That embrace that gave them all this power, it also shackled them to the will of another. They aren't just independent souls anymore, finding their way in the night. Oh no, they're assets, they're soldiers, they're pawns, all bound by the blood of their sires.
Okay, let's just take a moment to look at this political dumpster fire they've landed in. So the old guard, the Camarilla, they've been kicked out, and now they're just sitting on the sidelines, basically waiting for this whole anarch experiment to just implode. The domain's being run by Baron King and a crew of so-called reformed Sabbat. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there? And get this, the Nosferatu, the clan that, handles getting rid of the bodies, they're on strike. The Thin Bloods who helped with the revolt, they feel totally shafted, and they're making trouble. Oh, and if you're thinking of a quick trip across the river to New York, don't. It's a death sentence. This is the world our fledglings just got thrown into.
Every vampire is a weapon, and every weapon has a hand that holds it, that aims it. For our fledglings, those hands belong to their sires. So let's listen in, shall we? Let's hear the orders now being whispered into the ears of these newly damned souls.
So, picture this. Lila finds her sire, the La Sombra Vincent Grand, just looming over her sleeping daughter's bed. And he's not seeing a beloved child, he sees a liability. He calls her daughter, Miriam, an anchor that's holding Lila back from her true potential. And he makes it crystal clear that this anchor has to be cut, one way or another, before she's legally an adult. It's a threat, delivered with a smile. Chilling.
Now, on the complete flip side, you've got Ember's patron, the very mysterious Tria. She takes the opposite approach. She seems kind, reassuring even. She actually encourages Ember's connections to the mortal world, to her volatile boyfriend. But is it really kindness? Or is it just a more sophisticated kind of leash? A way to keep control by managing the very things that make Embers still feel human?
For Arthur, there are no whispers, no subtle games. His sire, Dogman, is a creature of blunt, brutal purpose. He shows up with a simple expectation. There's a fight coming, a nest of enemies that needs to be cleaned out, and Arthur, he's going to be the weapon. For the gangrel, there's no question about what's required. The only question is how much blood is going to get spilled.
And then there's Deacon. His chain was forged a long, long time ago. His sire, Brian Ballard, he just made it permanent. By bringing him into the real inner circle of the Bernardi crime family, Ballard didn't even need to give an order. Deacon's loyalty? It's just assumed. He's an enforcer, now and forever, tied to a family whose wars are going to outlast any mortal lifetime.
But the sires aren't the only ones pulling the strings here. Oh no, there's another force, this gravitational pull from a life that's supposed to be over. These are the ghosts of their past, their touchstones, the living, breathing reminders of the people they used to be.
For Layla, it's her rebellious daughter Miriam. For Arthur, it's his own daughter Emily, and a promise he made to be a better man. For Ember, it's her boyfriend Asher, their whole love affair now just fraying at the seams. And for Deacon, it's Alicia Grace, an 8-year-old girl who was struck by a bullet meant for him, a living, breathing symbol of a debt that can never, ever be repaid.
These mortal ties, you see, they're the source of what's left of their humanity. They're the very things keeping that inner beast locked away. But, just like Vincent so chillingly pointed out, they're also vulnerabilities, a weakness for their enemies to exploit, and for their sires to use as a pressure point. And all of this brings us to the impossible tightrope each one of these fledglings has to walk. They are caught right in the middle, between the demands of their monstrous new masters and the desperate, fading echoes of their own human hearts.
This whole duality thing, it really defines Lila's nightmare. One minute, she's playing the part of a mother, finding out her daughter is being followed, trying to bribe her away from some worthless boyfriend. And then the next, she's a monster, accepting her former best friend as a living blood bag, while her sire is literally threatening her child's life. I mean, how long can anyone survive being pulled in two completely opposite directions like that?
Arthur's conflict, it's just as stark. He swore to his family he changed, that all the violence was behind him. He promised he'd come back to them, a new man, unbruised. But his new father, his sire, he just showed up with one simple demand: to unleash that exact same violence on the barony's enemies. So which promise can he possibly keep?
Ember, meanwhile, is just caught in this web of manipulation. Her mortal relationship with Asher is crumbling under the weight of her secrets, her new monstrous instincts. And at the exact same time, Traya is offering her guidance and support and a path to power. But you have to ask, is Traya's mentorship a kindness? Or is it just a quieter, more possessive kind of control than the chaotic love she's leaving behind?
Well, the time for thinking is over. All those whispers from their sires, the pull of their past lives, it all just fades into the background. Because the barony has given its first command. It's a test of loyalty. It's a demand for blood.
The order comes straight down from Dogman. There's a house on the edge of Anarch territory, a known hideout for those troublesome Thinbloods, and it's being used as a staging ground for attacks. It has to be cleansed. This is not a request. This is the Coteries' first official mission, their first real test.
And you know what? They perform with chilling efficiency. This isn't some messy brawl. It's an execution. They plan a tactical assault, a pincer breach to hit the house from two sides at once. And with the advantage of their stronger blood and better weapons, well, the fight is brutal, and it's short. They move through that house like a scalpel, just overpowering the defenders with a practiced, terrifying violence.
But in the heat of it all, in the frenzy of combat and the thrill of the hunt, they do more than just eliminate their vampire targets. 3 mortals, caught right in the crossfire, are killed. Layla lands one of the killing blows. Ember lands another. The line has been crossed. There's no going back.
And then, it's over. The house goes silent, except for, the dripping of blood. The fledglings are left standing there, victorious. But in that quiet aftermath, you have to ask, what did they really gain? And what have they lost? Forever. On paper, the results are undeniable. The threat's gone. They even found some weird alchemy lab in the basement. They've proven their worth to their new masters. They've shown they can work together, that they can kill together. They have shown that they are no longer 5 confused individuals. They're a single, effective weapon. The command was given, and the command was followed. They were tested, and they didn't fail. In the eyes of their sires and all the powers that run this city, they have succeeded. Completely. They've become killers. They've become monsters in truth, not just in name. They've proven they can serve the leash, all right? But in doing so, have they finally, permanently severed the chains to the ghosts of their past? And what's going to be left of them when the only thing they have is the hunger and the next order?